Hiya. I just wanted to share this with you. This has been bothering me. Dan Wootton, whether he's innocent or whether he's guilty of what's been said about him, I don't know. But what I do know is others that have had accusations directed at them were immediately suspended from their roles within the television. It's like, I'm not going to mention those names. It's everyday television here in the UK, BBC and ITV. This one, Dan Wootton, GB News, this has been going on for a while, and yet he is still broadcasting. So why hasn't he been suspended while investigations go on to see if he's innocent or not? He is saying it's trying to pull the station down and not about him. And I know that's a lie. I feel that's a lie with everything in me. So the source of all the information seems to be coming from this byline, the Byline Times. So I'm going to read it, everything they've got. So here we go. GB News star Dan Wootton unmasked in cash for sexual images catfishing scandal. In the first part of its 3-year special investigation, Byline Times reveals the accounts of victims targeted by the powerful TV presenter. Dan Evans and Tom Latcham, 17th of July 2023. GB News presenter and Mail online columnist Dan Wootton hid behind fake online identities to trick and bribe scores of men into revealing compromising sexual material. Well, more fool the men for taking that money for that material, I've got to see if that happened. Byline Times can reveal in the first part of a 3-year special investigation. So 3 years they've been investigating this. And that might sound weird, I said, but we all have to take responsibility for our actions. He may or may not have asked for those images. They may or may not have given them. If they did, that was their choice to accept money for images. The 40-year-old broadcaster and self-styled voice against woke culture, whose show Dan Wootton Tonight is the biggest ratings winner on the UK's 4th most watched news channel, targeted journalistic colleagues, friends and members of the public for at least 10 years. I mean, he had a lot to say about other famous people who have been caught out, so to speak. Byline Times has extensive evidence to show that between June 2008 and 2018, Wootton, who is gay, posed as a fictitious show business agent called Martin Branning to offer sums of up to £30,000 tax-free to his targets, many of whom were heterosexual men. Among them are a very senior executive at Rupert Murdoch's News UK, alongside at least 6 other staff at the Sun newspaper, one with close links to the News UK CEO Rebecca Brooks, friends, Facebook associates and users of the dating apps Grindr and Gaydar. 2 of the targets made criminal complaints to Scotland Yard without knowing the real identity of the tormentor, with detectives aware of the activities of Branning, whose name is a portmanteau of EastEnders characters Martin Fowler and Max Brannan since 2019. Our journalist handed a 28-page dossier of evidence to the Metropolitan Police for investigation on 20th of June 2023. However, last week, criminal claims started to emerge on social media, with the posts rapidly attracting more than 18 million views, causing Wootton to trend on Twitter for several days. As a result, the newspaper is today publishing some details of our findings. We have identified 5 co-conspirators along with a representative group of around a dozen victims. However, sources suggest the true figure extends to many, many more men. Byline Times knows the names of those involved, but in order to protect the victims and the course of justice, it will not be revealing them publicly. Wotton has been off air at JB News, on which he hosts a weeknightly show, for 2 weeks, taking leave to visit his family who live in Wellington in his native New Zealand. He has been silent in the face of mass Twitter accusations, except to retweet promotions of his broadcasting return due at 9 p.m. tonight. Not today. In his absence, the news channel has covered the money for sexual images controversy surrounding the BBC and its lead presenter, Hugh Edwards, describing the story as a nuclear bomb. Stand-in Mark Dolan told viewers of Dan Wotton tonight, "It's a bad day for Hugh Edwards as he battles for his health and the future of his career. But for the BBC, it's even worse." Dolan added on 14th of July that this Hugh Edwards story is not going anywhere. Just a few headlines there. So we've got, I think this is where we're starting. Dan Wotton reveals regrets and claims dark forces attacking JB News in response to Byline Times 3-year investigation. Dan Wotton was a serial bully at The Sun, but bosses promoted him as complaints were silenced. Martin Brannan, his first victim. Silence from Dan Wotton's employers, Mail Online and JB News, as head of Commons DCMS committee demands answers from his former boss, The Sun, over Byline Times investigation. 25th July. Dan Wotton paid porn stars with Sun's Johnny Depp money for covert catfish sex videos. 28th of July, 2 days ago, Mail Online and The Sun hid serious Dan Wotton claims while attacking Hugh Edwards and the BBC. I tell you. At the time of Dolan's most recent comment, Byline Times investigators had already informed executives at JB News of the scope and veracity of allegations against Wotton, but the channel has continued to heavily promote Wotton's programme. During the established period of his activities, Wotton was initially an influential editor for Murdoch's News of the World before moving. Once that paper closed in 2011 after the phone hacking scandal, to the Daily Mail, and then from 2013 to Britain's biggest selling tabloid, The Sun, at which he edited its bizarre showbiz column before becoming an associate editor. His career has given him great power and influence in British media and access to the world of television, celebrity and the monarchy, on which it is his highly paid professional role to report. Tonight, a representative for Dan Wotton declined to provide Byline Times with an on-the-record response. It is understood that he strongly denies all allegations of criminality. The representative did not clarify when asked whether Wotton also denies being Martin Brannan. He is Martin Brannan, and he's been paying people to take over their Facebooks, which is another allegation. Is well, it's like stealing with someone else's identity, isn't it? I mean, people do some weird things. The next day, the profile was gone. Byline Times evidence extended to an account of admissions Dan Wotton made to a trusted former colleague and friend, in which, during his many moments of crisis, he revealed his fear of being exposed as Martin Brannan and the prospect of a pylon of victims. One victim, who was married with children, told the newspaper that he was left in shock to receive a text from Brannan offering him $10,000 tax-free in return for private work and to pose nude, adding that it felt like blackmail or entrapment. A second victim told Byline Times that Brannan had sent him messages from untraceable numbers day and night, offering sums up to $30,000 in return for sexual compromising pictures and that sort of thing. This victim said that he had uncovered a pattern of men who had worked with Wotton being harassed and unsolicited malicious communications. It was all pretty much always the same thing, 20 to 30,000 for naked photos. Aren't you intrigued about who I am? This sort of stuff, right? He said, adding that it was driving him insane and ultimately provoked him to go to the police. who sent a detective to his home to take a statement in 2019. A third victim, a former junior colleague who was indicated that he is willing to speak to the police, revealed how on several occasions he received disguised calls with offers of work with a sexual content, and said that it was pretty obvious they were from Wootton. A fourth victim, another junior colleague, was contacted on Facebook by Wootton in 2009, posing as a blonde woman called Maria Joseph, who exchanged flirty messages before swapping images of an unconnected female face from reality TV in return for images of the colleague, who was heterosexual and today also married with children. The fourth victim said, "I received a friend request from a girl called Maria Joseph. Immediately she was very flirty, and having just come out of a messy breakup, I didn't have my wits about me as much as I should. She soon started to send me semi-nude pics and swapped to email and phone. Her number was a New Zealand number, as she said she'd just come back from a year over there. As more pics came through, she started to request them from me, which I duly obliged. Fortunately, I kept my face out. Then she started to send ones she'd already sent, which she brushed off with, obviously I'm talking to a few guys at the same time. At this point, I'm being super careful and start to snoop further into her profile. Catfishing wasn't really a known thing back then, but I knew something was up," he said. "We had 5 friends in common on Facebook, Dan, plus 4 others. When I clicked the others, the only common link was Dan. Then a video came through of her having sex with a man. However, I recognized him as someone from a reality TV show, as he's a friend of a friend. This made me realize I knew the identity of the girl and it could not be legitimate." So where did he get that sex tape from? Is it, or that person who sent that tape, where did they get that from? Was that a recording that wasn't consented to either? So with this, the NZ number, the sole common denominator, I was sure it was him. So I messaged Maria to say, "Hi Dan, interesting way to get dick pics." The next day, the profile was gone. I was embarrassed that I had not been vigilant. It makes my blood run cold as to how vulnerable I had made myself. I felt stupid. Byline Times is published today following a series of revelations made on Twitter by Wootton's former partner of 4 years, Alex Truby, in a thread of tweets which at the time of publication had attracted more than 15 million views. Mr. Truby said that Wootton gained unauthorized access to his social media accounts and email, leading him to suspect that he was being stalked. The intrusion became evident when Mr. Truby found his Gmail account was being accessed from an IP address at the News of the World office, where Wootton was employed at the time. Mr. Truby also told how while he was flat-sitting for Wootton in 2013, who was visiting family in New Zealand, he found a padlocked holdall concealed behind Wootton's washing machine. What were you doing behind there? Which he opened and found an external hard drive inside, containing a secretly filmed video of an employee of The Sun engaged in sexual activity with their partner. Well, how? With their partner? So was that a couple? And how did that tape get there? But rummaging on people's things. Oof. With the video, Mr. Truby described finding a transcript of an MSN Messenger conversation between the Sun employee's partner and Martin Branning. The MSN conversation was between the colleague's partner and someone called Martin Branning, whereby an arrangement was indeed made to make the tape in secret without his colleague's knowledge in exchange for £500. Mr. Truby wrote, "I knew instantly that Martin Branning was done." I mean, that person who accepted that £500, bloody hell, man. Is that how little you value yourself, your integrity? Gosh. Byline Times has learned that before ending his relationship with Wootton, Mr. Truby confronted him over the contents of the holdall. Mr. Truby said that Wootton made a tearful admission of guilt, acknowledging he was the creator and controller of the pseudonym Martin Browning. Byline Times has put the content of the story in its entirety to GB News, Mail Online and the Metropolitan Police after it was announced that Wotton would be fronting his regular GB News show at 9 p.m. this evening. Byline Times again approached it for comment, extending the deadline for a response. At the time of publication, no comment had been provided. A spokesman for News UK said, "We have received an email from Byline this afternoon, which we are looking into. We are not able to make any further comment at this stage." This newspaper's dossier of evidence remains with the Metropolitan Police. Dan Evans and Tom Latcham are former colleagues of Dan Wotton's from the News of the World. None of the sources in this investigation were paid for their testimony. Wow. And this Byline, this website's free. We don't have a paywall. There are no ads. We don't profile you with intrusive analytics or track you with cookies. Unlike most UK papers, Byline Times is subscriber funded. Our team is small. We keep overheads low. We pay journalists fairly, and we pay our taxes in the UK. An easy way to support us is to receive our newsletter emails and install our app. We gain insight into our readership, and you make sure you don't miss vital news. £3.75 to subscribe per month. But the thing is, when we come back to why this is why it's bothering us, other people, presenters and TV personalities, they have been suspended immediately, pending investigation and looking into things, and they're found to be guilty. But neither of them involved secret recordings. Just who has been secretly recorded? And is that why Dan Wotton is still on air? Because he is holding something over bigger bosses within that establishment. My feeling is yes, but my feeling is also he will receive his karma, and justice will be done in this instant, because he thinks he's above it, because he's got stuff. But someone's going to give, and it's all going to come out, and a warrant will find more evidence, and this evidence will help prove that Dan Wotton has been holding something, tapes, over higher people within the establishment, and that is why he's still on air. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to go in the kitchen and eat some dog food. But what do you think? Why is he still on TV? This is everywhere. It's all over Twitter. It's in different YouTubers have covered the story. There is other outlets that have reported on it. And yet GB is saying nothing really, other than what Dan Wotton said himself. There was someone trying to get at the station and bring them down. No Dan Wotton. You have got a hold over people with something you shouldn't have. And let me tell Mr. Wotton, you will get your just desserts.